I can roll through my story as quick as I possibly can, because we're, I mean, my story is like really, there's a lot of in depth and a lot of seedy past and a lot of crazy stories, but for the sake of time, I just kind of roll through it pretty quick. I was born in Pittsburgh, about 20 miles out of Pittsburgh, in a small town called Lower Burl, and I came from a great family. Mom and dad were there, family vacations, dog, pool,
Dog.
dinner on the table at 6 o'clock. Everything. I was this normal little kid, just, bouncing around, playing jacks and Barbies and doing whatever we do, and, digging up worms and all that jazz. And when I was 12 years old, I was molested by a family friend, and we're going to use that friend very, very
I remember.
loosely. And that went on for about 2 years, and the guilt, the shame, feeling dirty, not having anybody to talk to, at least, molestation now is more out in the open, where they teach kids, people don't touch you in those kind of places. And so I found, alcohol was, like many teenagers, they, smoke a little pot, drink a little bit. And that's where I started, because I realized that when I drank, it took the pain and the guilt and the shame away. And then I used that alcohol for medication till I was 35.
When you
Um,
first had alcohol, did you like ever expect it to get out of control? Because I know that
Never.
when we talked previously, you said that when you were drinking a lot, actually had your addiction. You didn't think you were addicted at all. Like when you first started, was it just like a casual, oh, like this is what all the kids are doing nowadays, and it spiraled, or was there any point in time during that beginning stage where you're like, this may actually like be bad?
No, no. And I think that's where the misconception is, that, I didn't take that first drink when I was 13 or 14 and say, I'm going to be an alcoholic. I'm going to destroy my life. That's my mission.
It definitely,
That's not what, no, nobody says that. It was
yeah,
just, going to somebody's house and stealing a little beer or wine or whatever. And then, of course,
yeah,
going to I lived right near the river. So, the parties on the weekend at the
yeah,
river, and all the
definitely.
kids would gather, and there would be a barrel of beer and grain punch alcohol, and somebody'd be smoking some pot, and then, dabbled in a little bit of pills. And now in hindsight, I can look back and say that was absolutely, the beginning of my downfall, where it affected my family life. It affected my school. It affected just every part of my life. And I think, after getting sober at 35, I realized that I was so angry at everybody. I was angry at my parents for not protecting me from something they didn't know was happening. And then, it's like this spiral out of
Yeah,
control.
definitely.
And by the time I was 17, I got thrown out of high school. I got pregnant. And then drinking and drugging just became a part of my life. And then harder drugs came into it. And then not being able to hold a job because of drinking or drugging. And then, then getting into the seedy side of life, where I could drink, I could drug, and still work, which was I worked in an adult bookstore behind glass for years. I worked, which was, that's a whole story in itself right there. And then I started stripping and, prostituting, and had a madam, and worked that kind of circuit for a while. And the whole time I'm drinking and I'm drugging, and I'm trying to take care of my son, which I did a terrible job at. Luckily, he turned out pretty good, in spite of myself, and because I wasn't getting Mother of the Year back then. And
I
you
mean,
know,
now you probably are. I mean, now he's probably
yeah,
doing pretty well.
yeah, I think I get maybe Mother of the Year now. My thank goodness that our children can be so forgiving, because I
Definitely.
don't just I tried to shield him from as much as I could. It could have been so much worse.
Mhm.
But our children, like, parents are forgiving of children. Children are very forgiving of their parents. And so that lifestyle just spiraled out of control, and the people that I was hanging out with, and I say I've had a knife to my throat, I've had guns to my head. You put yourself in those really bad situations, bad things are going to happen. But I was a type of drunk that, they say you got to hit your bottom. And through all of these years, I always say I could never hit a bottom. I would scrape it. I would
Yeah.
scrape the bottom a little bit, and then I would get it back together, pay some bills, get some money, get cleaned up a little bit. And then I would start this downward spiral again. And it was, my family, not necessarily disowned me, but my mother would say, I hated seeing you come visit, and I loved when you left. Because I was, even if I wasn't drunk when I was there, I was still, the insane thinking. And so in 1997, I hit my bottom. I guess, but it wasn't, I didn't go to jail. Like, see, and this is something that kept me out there for a long time because I never got arrested. I
Mhm.
never lost I never lost a job, but I always worked at places you could drink because I worked in the bars. So I didn't lose my kid. You know, I didn't suffer those major consequences that many people do. I never wrecked a car. I don't know how any of that stuff never happened to
Which
me.
is